play to him. He got him. He got it. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Jay's Retro Reactions. Today we're going to be watching the recent winner of our movie poll, which is The Unknown Soldier, beating out Alien Nation, Gods and Generals, and the true story of the San Patricios. I don't know anything really about this movie. I have read on a few movie sites that it is one of the best military movies and war movies out there, so I'm really looking forward to seeing it. So I'm kind of grateful in a way it did win the movie poll, because it's been on my watch list for quite a long time. The historical background to kind of this movie is in 1939, the Soviet Union, with a population of 140 million, invaded Finland, which only had a population of less than 5 million. Finland, through the heroic resistance they put up, which is mainly through ski-based soldiers who did hit-and-run tactics, which is all you can do when you fight a larger enemy like the Soviet Union, managed to stop the invasion and lost only 10% of its territory, which is remarkable given the differences in the sizes between the two armies. However, Finland rightfully felt aggrieved at the fact that they had lost 10% of their territory, and Stalin was upset that he only took 10% because he had intended in taking the entire country. So the old adage goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and therefore when Nazi Germany began to attack the Soviet Union, even though Finland was a democratic country and wasn't particularly aligned with the policies of Nazi Germany, said the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and this is a perfect opportunity for us to get back our territory. So they, together with the Germans, invaded the Soviet Union to retake their lost territory. Again, that's the historical background, and that's the limit of my knowledge in this movie, is it's centered on that invasion together with Germany with the plan to take back their lost territory. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, and as usual, enough of me talking, let's get on with the movie.
Many illusions about Soviet Russia have been dispelled in these few fierce weeks of fighting in the Arctic Circle.
So this is Winston Churchill talking about the Soviet invasion of Finland. So that's what I was saying in the introduction. Finland lost 10% of its territory, which is still remarkable that such a small country managed to fend off a nation the size of the Soviet Union. And I would have a lot of sympathy for Finland, because as an Irish person, we had a similar struggle in our war of independence against Britain, given we were only about 3 million against a population of 60 million. Finland knew that if they didn't take preemptive steps, the Soviet Union was likely to attack them again, and we see the same issue today happening with Ukraine and Russia, with Ukraine very much taking the attitude, we have to take this to the end and retake all our territory because Russia is just going to come back, which is probably right given its historical precedence in these sort of matters.
Tulen takaisin.
Varmasti.
No varmasti, jos odotat.
Odotan.
Odotatko?
So here we're obviously getting introduced to the characters who are going off to war and to invade the Soviet Union to reconquer Finnish territory.
Pataljoona siirtyy autokuljetuksen toiseen paikkaan. Ja sen takia luovutetaan kaikki ylimääräiset varusteet pois.
And that always used to annoy me when I was a soldier myself, is you're always told not to carry unnecessary gear, but I always ask the question, why the hell was I issued with this stuff if it's unnecessary, right? Never made sense to me. Also, if I have any Finnish viewers out there, I'd be really interested in hearing from a Finnish person the history of the conflict, right? Both the Soviet invasion of Finland and the subsequent invasion by Finland of the Soviet Union. And I'd also love to know if this movie is based on historical facts. Is it fiction? Is it faction? Is it based on a book? I'd be really interested to hear all of that.
Ei siinä oikeastaan muuta ole, mutta rauhallisesti se on otettava. Tähtää vyön kohdalle, se on paras. Ja siitä se selviää. Muistettava, ettei ne ihmisiä kummempia ole nekään.
Well, 2 out of 3 pieces of that advice I would agree with. Yes, it's important to remain calm if you can. Remember your training and remember to follow orders. That's really important, and it's actually the first thing most people forget in combat. The second thing he said is, yeah, they're men just like us, so don't be afraid of them. But the third piece of advice, aim for the waist. I'm not so sure about that, right? A stomach or abdomen wound is extremely painful and will put someone down, but they don't die from it and they're still able to operate their gun.
Tykistä ampuu isku kakkosen eteen. Heti sen loputtua lähdetään ilman eri käskyä.
anna pysähtyä, koita yhteenmenoa. Missään tapauksessa ei saa jäädä tuleen makaamaan.
It's actually interesting watching the way they're set up the attack. So they're going to launch an artillery barrage first to soften up the enemy and then do the frontal assault. Very much World War I tactics. They also don't seem to have any tanks.
Jos pääsis yksi mies lähelle, kasapanoksen kanssa. Anna koeta. Minä menen.
So they're pinned down by a bunker, and what they have to do is get close to the bunker and plant a satchel charge, which is basically a bag full of C4. Of course, this is a very risky maneuver, and again, talking about combined warfare, which we use today, you would preferably be launching mortars at this bunker, or calling in artillery or an airstrike. So what they're trying to do is pin down the bunker machine gun with their own machine gun and small arms fire, trying to give the guy enough cover to get close. He seems to be close enough now. Just throw it, mate. Ignite, throw. Fair play to him. He got him. He got it. So I presume what they're attacking is the Soviet defense line, which is a series of machine gun bunkers that they set up on their captured territory of Finland. So here we see them assaulting a trench, which is one of the most difficult things to do in infantry warfare.
Jatketaan eteenpäin! Vähän jäädä nyt evakuoimaan.
Okay, it looks like they managed to successfully clear the trenches and the bunkers, so well done for your first mission, guys. So is this dude after getting conscripted? So again, someone, if they know, please let me know in the comments. Did they conscript all the military-age men in Finland at the time of this invasion?
Pöly masurin silmille vaan perkele.
Just a piece of friendly advice. If unfortunately you do ever get caught in a warfare situation, try and avoid the infantry at all costs. It is actually the worst place as a soldier. You are usually in uncomfortable trenches, poor food if they can't get supplies to use, etc. I always say join the Air Force or join the Navy if you want a comfortable war. Yes, you may get killed, but at least you sleep in a bed and have regular food. They have now crossed the old Finnish border, so they've recaptured all the original territory they lost, and they proceeded forward. Again, if I have any Finnish viewers, please let me know what the reason for this was. I'm presuming it would be to create a buffer zone against the Soviet Union of more captured territory.
Tässä vissiinkin on komppanian päällikkö. Me tultiin te täydennysmiehinä. Tuossa on nyt paperilla. Siinä on meidän molempia.
Jaha, mitäs? Te olette allekirjoitettiin.
Niinhän me on. Talussa vaan syön toit natsat.
This guy is a veteran of the Winter Wars, which is when the Soviet Union invaded Finland. So he's been recalled up into the army because they're now invading the Soviet Union and they need able bodies and experienced bodies. He holds a rank of a corporal. He looks to be an older head. So I'd say this guy is probably a good NCO, and given that he's battle experienced, it's probably good to have an NCO like that around for the inexperienced troops and even the inexperienced officers who may not know what they're doing, because not everything works out like you train for in military school.
Kyllä jo menneet, mutta me katselin tuo tulles, että Jokopis ottaa liikaa kantapäitä. Silviisi asiat selviä. Mut me ei siitä huolita. Otetaan hitto koko Euroopalla. Karjala me otetaan, sit me lähdetäänkin kotiin.
So his motivation is he lost his farm, which was located in Karela, when the Soviet Union took it back in 1939. So he's a very personal reason to be fighting this particular war.
Toinen porras! Valmistautukaa!
So this is really dangerous what they're doing, crossing a river in boats, because you're an open target, you have no cover, and all you can do is just heap back loads of fire, shoot wherever, you probably can't see the enemy, to try and suppress them and get across. They are probably going to take a lot of casualties in this river crossing. They also seem to be using old Vickers machine guns from the First World War. Again, if someone knows, please let me know in the comments if they were indeed using Vickers. They also seem to have a mix of small arms. I've seen what looked like a PPSH, which is the gun with the round drum, and again what looks like to be an MP40 and a Tommy gun. The rifles look like Lee Enfields as well, so it seems to be a wide range of weapons they're using. Whoever made this movie knows what they're doing. This is the correct way to assault a trench. Grenade, around the bend, fire, follow up, next bend, grenade. So this is really well made and really authentic. And see what I mean about the experienced NCO? This is why I was saying in North and South, you really need a good NCO, and I'd value a good NCO over an officer any day.
Tää onkin hyvä perä. Tää onkin vähän talsolas.
And indeed, the NCO took over from the lieutenant there because he knew the correct thing to do. And again, that's not too uncommon. You would see that in real life.
Se oli 10 arvosta työtä.
Se elämänskä rupia minua kehumaan. Se pyrit sankartyötä tekemään. Jätä sen sellaisilpana hitonkaan arvo. Me ei olla täällä kuolemassa, me ollaan tappamassa.
Very smart words from that NCO there, and it reminds me a lot of the famous quote from Patton. We're not here to die for our country, we're here to make the other guy die for his country. Except Patton used a lot stronger words than I just did. What does worry me is what he said about the lieutenant, is that the lieutenant is here to be a hero, and that's dangerous, because that lieutenant is going to take risks, and unfortunately he's in command of a platoon, and that's why you need this good NCO who'll keep him in line. Again, what strikes me about this scene is it seems that the Finnish army is actually extremely under-equipped. They don't seem to have armoured vehicles, they don't seem to have an air force, and they don't seem to have basic engineering equipment like pontoon bridges. And that makes me worried for them going forward in this movie, because the Soviet Union had all of those. So here we see a counterattack by the Soviet Union forces, and we see they're using tanks with infantry. So it's going to be difficult for these guys to take them out. Okay, so the Finnish do have an anti-tank rifle, but they are not always effective, so we'll see. Maybe they have anti-tank mines laid, I don't know. Again, I must highly praise the director of this movie. What the soldiers are doing is very authentic. They're using automatic weapons but firing in small short bursts, which is exactly what you do, because otherwise it kicks around and you just waste ammo if you go full auto. We can see this guy has an anti-tank mine in his hand, so he's going to try and put it under the tracks. He missed, so he's going to have to go again. And if the tank sees him, he's dead, because they've got a machine gun and, of course, the cannon. Success! Best thing to do now is hop on top and throw a grenade in the turret, and possibly shoot in the machine gun slot as well. And you see how he's shaking there? A lot of people would think that's fear. It's more than likely not fear, it's more than likely adrenaline. Because when you're in a battle like that, your adrenaline is pumping 100 million miles an hour, and when you stop, you often shake for a little while after, while your body is getting rid of all that excess adrenaline it's just pumped out. So they're in Soviet Karelia. Can't pronounce that. Is it Karelia? Karelia? Maybe? Karelia? So they're making a push towards Leningrad. And now they're using mortars, which is the first time I've seen that. So here we are again, pinned down by bunkers, machine gun bunkers. Again, I presume that was a common Soviet defense tactic at the time. Again, another truism of war. There is really no such thing as an atheist on the battlefield.
Venäjällä olla. Petroskoi, Petroskoi.
And the reason there is no atheist on the battlefield is because it's very hard to understand how you are not hit when see some of your friends getting hit and you're all in the same battle. So here we see the soldiers who have taken the town absolutely going crazy. They've nicked all the booze. They seem to be attacking the women. They're firing in the air, which by the way is really dangerous because those bullets fall down and actually hurt, if not kill people. Seems to be a complete lack of discipline here.
Nopeasti se kaatu.
Слышала меня? Смотри в пол.
If someone could let me know, did the Finnish army have the same policy that the German army had, which was execute all the commissars, the political commissars that they found on the Soviet Union side? These were the pure communists put there to keep the troops in line and to push the communist doctrine? Or did they care? Victory Parade. The salute is different than we have in the Irish Army. In the Irish Army, it was above your eyebrow, hand straight, elbow straight. And then short way down.
Te menette sinne, mihin teitä käsketään. Onko selvä?
Kyllä se ukko käy isottelemaan minulle. Sä tiedät, mitä siinä käy, kun aletaan koittamaan. Luulet, se helvetin hevosmies, ja aletaan lippii sijoissa salokkaan viisi.
I like this NCO, he takes no crap. But in fairness to the officer, he's right. The reason you do that with recently victorious troops is because you need to maintain order and discipline, but I also get the NCO's point. Don't give me that officer crap, I know what I'm doing, and I'm not going to be doing any of that stuff that you're worried about.
Gogolin katu. Maksim Gorkikin katu. Leninin mäki.
So Maxim Gorky, and there's also Gorky Park in Moscow. There's a famous film from the 80s, a really good film actually, called Gorky Park. So who is Maxim Gorky? If anyone can let me know, because it's not a name I'm familiar with.
Taas täällä.
Toitteko sitä teetä?
Teetä ja chaita. Musiikkia.
So what's going on here? Have they made a deal with these local women to give them food in exchange for what exactly? Cooking them dinner? Having a wash? Maybe a little, romance?
Miksi tulitte? Miksi ette antaneet meidän olla rauhassa?
Te hitoitte aloititte. Että miltä maatila. Mene katsomaan, minkälaisessa kunnossa on kannas.
100% agree with the NCO's reply there, and it's something I've noticed following Russian YouTube channels, that a lot of the population go, oh, it's terrible Ukraine is attacking us with drones, and you're kind of going, what is mentally wrong with you? You attacked Ukraine first, of course they're going to attack you back.
Sitten joutuu kärsimään semmoisetkin, kun ei ole kenelläkään mitään pahaa tehneet. Niin kuin esimerkiksi kaikki mukula.
Wise words by this soldier, very wise words. It's always the innocents who suffer, unfortunately. So there's 3 girls and 3 guys. I presume something more has been offered here for the food. This guy looks like he's fallen for that lady. He's taken the little memento and he's staring at it in his barracks. So he's back paying another visit. They definitely have a thing, a romance going on now at this stage. You'd actually want to be careful because you may get accused of being used by the enemy for information, which is a genuine risk.
Mihin meitä viedään?
Ne tila.
Syvärille. Tää paska. Eiks mä voida jää?
So his romance is over, they're moving out onto the next target. At least to give the troops a chance to rest and recuperate before sending them back into battle. And we can see from the maps, Germany's approaching Moscow, the Finnish army is near Leningrad, and they're continuing to push on the other front as well. Well, we all know historically what happens. Hitler, due to ego, decides to pivot from Moscow, despite them being roughly about 5 kilometers from Moscow, towards Stalingrad, which was purely an egotistical decision, because it was named after Stalin.
Ketjun päät on pahimmat. Mikä varustamaan vasen sivusta menetty miehityksen ohi ja pidätte silmällä tilanne. Antaa se hyvästi. Tuu siellä Sihvonen minun mukaan. Anna sieltä sun Sihvosel sukset.
So the Finnish officer is worried about a counterattack, and the NCO has volunteered to go and protect one of the flanks.
Siellä reppussa täydet lippaat. Sikäs kun ne on peräty yhdeksikäs ja täytäntä. Olehan täysinä siellä ei jäättävä sekao.
So again, smart. He has the submachine gun. He's going to take on the enemy troops. He's going to use his number 2 to refill the magazines and keep the weapon loaded. His only worry then is the weapon becoming jammed or perhaps overheated if it's overused. That's a significant number of men he's taking on, but he seems to be doing quite well so far. Again, we see the use of nice, short, controlled bursts so you don't get the weapon hopping around too much, and you can keep your target in focus. Shit, he's after getting hit, man.
Mihin sinä näet?
En mihinkään.
Jää paikalle sit. Lippaat tyhjänä.
He seems to have taken one to the head. Okay, it's just a graze, and the other guy was trying to leg it. As soon as he seen the bullet hit the NCO, the corporal.
Saatana!
Okay, he's lost it now, and he's gone full auto. He seems to have successfully taken out the entire unit that was coming at him. But again, what I'm surprised at is a lack of mortars and other weapons of warfare. But perhaps that equipment, as I said, was limited for the Finnish army at the time.
Mitäs siellä? Me tuli viikoksi.
Johan tässä on aadettukin.
So he's back home on leave, and again we see that the troops are being rotated out quite regularly, and that's really important, as I said, to keep the troops fresh, eager to fight, and for their morale and spirit. And just the monotony of regular civilian life will be really refreshing to him after coming from seeing all that death and warfare.
Suomen Marsalkan 75. syntymäpäivä muodostui Suomen historian komeimmaksi.
So we're 2 years into the war, June 1942.
Juhlan kohokohdaksi muodostui Suur-Saksan johtajan Adolf Hitlerin saapuminen onnittelemaan henkilökohtaisesti.
So was Mannerheim the supreme commander of the Finnish forces, or was he the prime minister at the time of Finland? Again, if anyone knows, please let me know in the comments. So the front seems to have settled by this stage in July 1942 into a static front, a trench line.
Huomioon ottaen kehityksen aseistuksen ja teknillisten varusteiden suhteen nykyään käytävässä suursodassa katsoin maanpuolustuksen kannalta välttämättömäksi siirtyä uusiin aseisiin.
So this guy has just joined the unit and has decided to bring his bow and arrow with him. And that reminds me, I can't think of the gentleman's name, but there was a famous British officer who used to go into battle in World War II with a sword. If anyone can remember his name, I think it was Jack something. Please let me know in the comments.
Rokka. Ota poika kaveriksi, kun mä seuraava kerran vartioon ja näytä kaikki.
Käypä se hyvästä.
That's smart advice. Get the experienced NCO to show the new guy around the young guy.
Meillä milloinkaan nosta päätään sauvasta. Melkein kaikki kaatuneet. Täällä on sellaisia, jotka on pitäneet päätään syön sekunnin liian kauan yllä. Periskoopissa kun katsot.
Of course, because you have snipers in the other trench waiting just to take a pop at you. And if anyone has ever heard of that saying, you know, don't be the third cigarette to be lit from a match, that actually comes from the First World War, because the sniper, the German sniper, could line up a shot, and in the first cigarette, he's aiming. Second cigarette, he's marked his target. Third cigarette, bang, and it was the guy with the third cigarette that got lit with that match who got his head blown off.
Aatuneet on 14. Paina niihin paikat mieleesi. Jos me tulloot, ne et sekoita eläviä kuolleisiin.
Again, very smart. Know where the dead bodies are, so if you notice one that's not one of the dead bodies you've memorized, that's probably someone crawling towards you for an attack.
Minkälaista se on ihmistä ampua?
No en tiedä, minä amputko vihollisia.
Eivätkö ne sitten ole ihmisiä ollenkaan?
Eihän nää. Enää mietiä.
That's very clever words from the NCO. If you think of your enemy as a human being, it is far more difficult to shoot at them. And there was a study carried out a couple of years ago that I remember reading about, which said that only 25% of soldiers actually aim to kill in a battle. The other 75% deliberately aim to miss because the concept of killing another human being, even though they're in the army and those people are shooting back at them, is too difficult to bear.
Kunnia Jumalalle korkeuksissa ja maassa rauha ihmisten kesken, joita kohtaan hänellä on hyvä tahto. Hyvää joulua, sotilaat!
So it's obviously Christmas time, and I presume religion was used by the Finnish army as one of the mainstays of why they were fighting against the atheistic Soviet Union. Not only to take our land back, but now we've advanced past our borders, we're fighting for the good of God and the good of his kingdom on earth because we're defeating the atheistic evil communist regime.
Ettekö te käsitä, että te olette vartiomies?
Miksi me tässä sit olisi? Näitä sielläkin ilman kyselemättä, että meidän vartiomies, kun me yhtenä katselee periskoop. Vartiomies ja se sellainen.
Mikä teidän nimenne on?
This guy has no respect for authority, I like him. Useless authority. But he's probably going to get in trouble now from this officer. Seems quite senior.
Komensi sinut ja ryhmäsi puhdistamaan komentopaikan ympäristöä. Ja polkujen reunat pitäisi koristella pyöreillä kivillä.
So he's been put on cleaning duties for insulting that officer?
Jos te käyttäytyisitte niinku sotilaat. Varsinkin esimiesasemassa olevan tulee. Minä voisin suoralta kädeltä luvata teille Mannerheim-risti.
Something strikes me that this NCO doesn't care about medals and things like that. He's there to do a job, win back his farm in Kerala, and then that's it. That's all he cares about.
Tiedätkö, jot me en tule.
So he's refusing to do the order he was given to clean.
Tiedätkö, kuule, jot minun raskaana oleva joukko leikkaa itse ruista kannaksella. Ja siihen mokoma väälyinen. Meinaat panna miuttaa laittelemaan kiviä sinun polkuloihes pieliin!
And he's right, he's already sacrificed enough, and to be punished for just not saluting some dickhead who was annoying him when he was already doing his job, I get it.
Ees sotaoikeutta, jos tahot. Sen kun vaan muistatte, että mien kuole koiran lailla. Siinä kuuluu muutama ukko ensittää. Panna mieleesi.
And he's basically just said to that officer, court-martial me if you want, but I'm not going to any firing squad easily. I will take out a couple of your guys with me. And I'd well believe this guy would too as well. He seems a very capable soldier. Okay guys, that's the end of part 1. This is a 2.5-hour movie, so I had to split it into 2 parts just to enable me to bloody edit the thing, because editing takes about 4 hours per hour. So please join me for part 2, which should be released in a couple of days. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.